I think the other thing that you talk about outsourcing of things to the citizens is the opportunity for governments to leverage what citizens can contribute. And part of what we're starting to see is that willingness of governments to take a chance, even go beyond to take a chance, actually to invite citizens to see what they can make of the data that governments have. And that is a tremendous opportunity for governments to really leverage what citizens need and want. And I think some of the comments that you've been making in terms of the talks we've been having with clients is the idea of having to tie that back to mission. Because there's lots of opportunity to share data, and it's probably easy for governments to get distracted in trying to deal with opening up of data. But there's also lots of opportunity to let citizens apply their imagination and their creativity to what value might reside within the data sets that are available.
Right, and that's one of the big advantages of this is more innovative government by letting users design. And it's a big lesson, of course, from the private sector, whether it's iPod and the iPod creating a platform, and now there are over 100,000 iPod applications, 56 million downloads, or some huge number like that. And the reason is that Apple could never have done that by themselves, but by essentially bringing in other people to do that, they created much more value than they could have. Google, very, very similar, everything they do. So in a way, what we're moving towards this environment where government data becomes a platform in a similar way as Google is a platform for developers. And so rather than government trying to develop all of these different applications and e-government tools themselves, by opening up the data, they can actually allow citizens, nonprofit business groups to create this. They can do it sometimes just because they're going to want to do it, other times through competitions that we've seen in Washington, D.C., where they had a Apps for Democracy competition, $50,000 they used, and the applications they got out of it were worth, they valued at over $2.3 million.
Well, and it's interesting because the piece that I think we're starting to understand is the cultural change that's required inside government organizations to make these changes happen. And when we started looking at the whole question of data, openness of data, and the value that is inherent within the data that government contains, one of the things that we noticed was traditionally data has been owned by managers, program managers within organizations. And even within the walls of government, it's been very difficult to share data across program areas. And so the cultural change that's going to be required to open up data across government programs, but also open it up to the public, to businesses, is tremendous. And it's good to see some of the early successes, because there certainly have been successes. And I think the idea of D.C. and other municipalities in particular offering competitions, incenting citizens to participate is really moving things forward at a very tremendous kind of pace. But the challenges aren't insignificant.
Right. I love the Toronto Transit Commission example. We're here in Toronto right now. Maybe tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, what we see is that the frustration on the part of transit riders with respect to getting what would seem to be fairly basic information on schedules, routes, what have you. And a group of developers taking it upon themselves to mash up data to create schedule information that could be shared among citizens. And the good thing about that was that the TTC was able to understand and see the benefit of that, and to be able to incorporate some of that into their own websites. And it really highlights the fact that there's almost limitless applications to public data. And it's really unrealistic to expect governments to understand what all those applications are. And it's unrealistic to expect them to have the resources to be able to combine data from across multiple levels, multiple jurisdictions, and offer services that individuals may want at a community level, or at a provincial or state level. So in this way, it's good to see that there's opportunities for governments to encourage citizens to use their imagination and capability to offer information that's useful.